Namaste everybody, and now we will take up the impact of karma on what is karma and uh, go further into karma once. So we have seen that everything comes out of the Brahman, which is the Paramartha Satya, and from Paramartha Satya there is a Spandana. From the Spandana there is the evolution of the identity, the Purusha. Now, Purusha by itself is irrelevant unless it is acknowledged by another entity. So, when the entity acknowledges Purusha, the Purusha experiences expansion. But in order to get that other entity to accept this the other entity, the Purusha has to manifest. This manifestation of Purusha is the Prakriti. Now, what happens is that when Purusha manifests and there is an acknowledgement of the other by the other person, the Purusha here expands, and that expansion, the outward flowing of consciousness, is called Rajas. When the other entity does not acknowledge favorably, the Purusha experiences an inward movement of consciousness. That means Prakriti moves into Purusha, and that is called Tamas. Sattva is somewhere in between. Like, for instance, if you have a ball and you roll the ball is in a state of inertia. You apply energy, the ball begins to roll, and at one point it goes from positive movement to negative movement. That is, it starts decelerating. From acceleration, it begins to decelerate. The transition between acceleration and deceleration, there is a point of balance which is reached. The sense of harmony and balance is called sattva. The important thing is that when Sri Krishna says that everyone is helplessly driven into action by gunas which are born out of Prakriti, what it actually means is that when you are moving out or moving in, when the consciousness is either moving out or moving in, you are continuously experiencing change. This change will force you to either bring the other entity close. Suppose I'm telling you something and you like it. You will bring not only the idea close, you'll bring me also close to yourself. If you don't like what I'm saying, you disagree with what I'm saying, you'll push me away. So there is congruence and lack of congruence. This congruence and lack of congruence is the guna. But the outcome of that is the action of bringing one closer to or pushing one further away. This movement of congruence, lack of congruence leading to an outcome is karma. And that, when you bring closer, is called raga. When you push something away, is called dvesha. Raga and dvesha are the foundations of karma. Karma is an outcome of the guna. Guna is an outcome of the identity, which is manifesting and receiving stimulus, which is then driven by the consciousness. That is taking, which sends signals out, grabs signals, brings it back, says I like or I dislike, which results in a karma being created. So the center of all these problems is the identity. When you do that, so what is the way in which you can transcend the current state of existence and go back into Paramartha Satya or the Brahman? And that is what he is explaining in the next few chapters. That deluded soul which restrains organs of action but constantly sits with his cognition remembering sense objects is called a hypocrite. Let us say you are practicing dhyana But you're constantly worrying about, has the maid cleaned the basins? Has she cleaned the staircase? Or you're wondering, has my daughter taken enough money to pay for her lunch? Is she safe? Is she going to, is she coming by the bus? Or is she going to come by rickshaw? If you start thinking all these things, you are sitting in one place, but there is an imagery that is being continuously being played within yourself. This imagery will will never allow you to transcend that particular situation, because the self is continuously being attracted to objects. What is the importance of this particular statement? The importance of the statement is that despite you, karma is not a physical action. Karma is a psychosomatic action. That is, when you are in a particular situation, it is not necessarily that you have to be physically there. It is also possible to um, experience something when you are not there. To the point where even if you watch, let us say, Sholay, where that fellow is singing Ye Dosti, your your Atma is sending consciousness outside because it is expanding. Where Sanjeev Kumar's hands are being broken, there is a lot of trauma which is being created within the self. Okay, so there is a trauma that is being created within the self. I will speak more slowly so that the lag between the audio is kind of reduced. Um, and if please do keep telling me if I speed up and it's getting difficult to understand, please warn me, I will slow down again. The point is that karma does not have to be created only by physical movement. It is psychosomatic. Means what? You can actually put yourself, pressurize yourself to a point where you begin to get so badly anxious that you are unable to function. What will happen if something happens? What will happen if BJP loses the election and you start hyperventilating? What happens? You have not gained anything. It is what is happening is that you're creating a karma that is completely irrelevant to you, but it is still your karma because it is being created by you. Now that is what he is trying to say. That sitting in one place, you are in a position to trigger your amygdala to a point that it sends signal to your adrenaline glands, and your entire system gets flooded with adrenaline and cortisol, and you are in a state of anxiety. This is a very critical thing for you to understand if you have to prepare for karma yoga. That you cannot practice karma without understanding that the self is the one that is getting impacted by karma. So, in order to evolve, he gives you a solution to the next, in the next. But that person who controls the senses by control of cognition and commences to act in an unattached manner excels in harmony of action. Now let's look at what is unattachment. Unattachment ultimately comes back to chapter 2, where you're saying that this is not permanent, this is temporary. But there is another thing that you can do also. You can look at something and you say, you are looking at it like it is a sacrifice. I'm doing something without expectation of return. This is more difficult. But if, for instance, you are cooking, let us say you are cooking in the house and you've got you're cutting vegetables. If all your senses are focused on the cutting of vegetables, your breathing is even. The cutting that you're doing does not have a personality attached to it. Then what happens is that the manas, what are the senses? Sight, smell, sound, voice, touch. All of these give you stimulus which tell you that I like or I dislike. This is how you're creating karma, correct? You're creating karma because you touch something and you say I like or I dislike. So that is the first part. If you can stabilize the touching and every other thing and keep it neutral without having a like or a dislike, what then happens is that karma is not created. You are acting, you're still cooking, you're still cutting the vegetable, but it is not you that is doing it. That is, the individual is not doing it. The action is continuously happening. But because the feeling of ownership is not there, the feeling of I am I am responsible for the outcome is not there. What happens is the outcome is happening. You're still cutting the vegetables, you're still cooking, you're still making dosa, you're making upma, whatever you're doing. But at the end of the day, it is happening. It is not I am doing it. It is happening. So this is a very important shloka here which needs to be understood. So I'm going to stop here and we will run the discussions. So have you all been able to understand what I said? That in order to actually evolve in Karma Yoga, you should stop being I am doing it and just do it. Do it. It is happening. So the I and the you get out of this equation. Any questions? Can we have some? Yes, Meenu madam.
So whether I think that I am doing it or I am not doing it, then who is the karta? Even if I think I am not doing it, there has to be a karta for that action to happen.
A karta is different from the person. In both cases, the karta is doing it. The karta is the doer. The person who's doing it is doing it. In one, the person does not get ahankara. I am the doer. In the other, he is doing it or she is doing it without having any feeling of um, I I'm enjoying this. I'm doing it. I'm very happy. Those happiness, sadness, the duality, good, bad, right, wrong, that is missing. It is happening. The person is in a neutral state. Karta is
So
the same.
if a
Both
so
say the
if a
karta is there.
person
Hmm.
so if a person is doing, say, someone is chopping the wood, a
Hmm.
woodcutter is chopping wood. Now
Hmm.
he's mechanically doing it, okay,
Correct.
and
Hmm.
he's anyamanaska, meaning he's not even in his mind. He's just like a machine. He's doing it, okay. He's just chopping the wood, and his mind is not into it. And obviously, when the mind itself is not there, there is no question of ownership. Mamakara is not there. That I am doing it. It's my wood. I have to do this. My acts. Nothing like that. Okay.
Correct.
So in almost it is like a machine doing it, not a
Correct.
living human being, but a machine doing it. Because machine can't
Correct.
think, and human is can think but is not thinking.
Correct.
So are we? And if that is an ideal state to achieve, are we
It is
all
not. No, 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 no,
basically?
no. I didn't. That is not the ideal state to achieve. Sorry, that is not the ideal state to achieve. When he is just chopping the wood,
Mm,
what is happening is that
mm.
he is in a state of tamas.
How?
He is, because at the end of the day, there is no. While it might seem like there is no attachment, there is no awareness also. This is a very nice question that you have asked, because here we are talking about being aware of the situation. When you are cutting a vegetable, you have to be aware of the cutting of the vegetable, but you must not like, dislike, good, bad. Those thoughts must not be there.
So then what will prompt
It's a
me to
very
do or not do?
it is a very nuanced approach. It is not easy.
Right. So how will what uh, what exactly will make me decide to do or not to do? That is me only. No, at that point I am getting involved, because if I have neither I am interested or not interested, then I may or may not do the action only. The action, the decision to do an action involves my inner self. Like something within me has to take that wood has to be chopped. Okay, that decision I have taken. Excuse me. Wood has to be chopped. So there is no question of me being indifferent about it. I have to involve my decision making, that yeah, I am deciding that the wood has to be chopped, and then I go
Correct.
about doing the chopping the wood.
Correct.
Okay.
Let us put it this way. We'll forget about the woodcutter. Let us
Hmm.
talk about you and me. Okay.
Hmm.
I am teaching a class. There are
Hmm.
two ways I can teach, right? If somebody does not attend the class, I can get upset
Hmm.
and say, no, no, this is useless. I'm not going to teach.
Hmm.
Another way to do it is, I am teaching. Everybody's learning because of me. That is another approach, correct?
That's
So
a
in
karta
one,
bhava. Karta bhava. That
but
I
it
am the
doesn't.
doer.
It is. So there is ahankara. The
Hmm.
point I'm not is not about that. It's about like, dislike, good, bad, right, wrong. I like it, I dislike it, and things like that. I am also interested in an outcome. I want you all to do this homework. So the thing is, what happens is that when I'm bound by those need, by the need for an outcome, by the need for satiation, by the need for a feeling of goodness, or I get related to the person with whom I'm working with, that is where I begin to start getting attachments, start feeling good, bad, right, wrong. I start experiencing all those things which trigger my amygdala. However, if I say I'm doing it, I'm teaching what I can, I'm sharing what I can, I'm neither happy nor sad if I will try my best, but I cannot be you, right? I cannot force you to do something. So at the end of the day, if I am able to control my needs for assuagement, that is, you should like what I say, you should be happy with what I say. For as long as I'm able to stay away from, I'm more neutral, but at the same time, I'm functioning with enormous amount of awareness and shraddha. So the difference, as you spoke about in the case of the woodcutter, is the shraddha.
So
That
there
is,
is.
no, no, no. He is physically just chopping. There is no awareness. He's chopping.
Sir,
However,
but I got you, sir, that you are saying that man is doing mechanically. That is not what you're saying. You're saying that when the woodcutter
that
is
is
chopping,
tamas.
yeah,
That
yeah,
is tamas.
yeah. So when the woodcutter is chopping, if he does it with an awareness, yet no attachment to the action of chopping the wood, that's what will not trigger the amygdala. Okay,
Correct.
but
Correct.
the thing is, at some point, if you take the woodcutter example, that person would have decided to chop the wood, and in deciding to chop the wood, in that action of deciding to chop the wood, there cannot be no raga and no dvesha, because he has to do that job.
Why? Why? No, no, 1 minute, 1 minute.
Hmm.
I don't have to teach.
Okay.
Correct? I don't have to teach.
Okay.
But I do it. Now, I could say that I'm teaching because I want to share my knowledge.
Hmm.
Or I could say that I am teaching because I'm good or whatever. To be honest with you, I don't know why I'm teaching.
But that is
It's
the
just
propelling force. Whether it is a
something is making it
yes,
happen.
yes.
But at the end of the day, I am not owning it. I am doing it, but I'm not owning it. So this is what makes it easy for me
So what
to.
are you not owning, sir? When you're doing it, are you saying that you are not owning the fruit of the action, like of teaching, like
I
whatever is a
no no
good
no.
or
One
bad?
minute. I'm saying I will do only what I can control. That is
Okay.
the way I say it is what I can control.
Okay.
How you will accept it, I cannot control. Correct?
Right.
So
But
when you accept it or not accept it, you come and you pay attention or you don't pay attention is beyond my control.
but
You know,
what
if
is
I
your
start with
motivation? You have a motivation to come and teach, no? So this is what
no,
my why. So
no, I
why
have
would
no
you?
motivation.
So
Honestly, I have no motivation.
no, I'm not
I'm
telling,
doing.
sir. Sir, I'm using it purely as an example. We can go back to the woodcutter thing. I mean, it doesn't matter.
No, this is itself a motivation. This is itself an example that we are talking about.
No,
No,
but
I'm
you
saying I
can
don't
say
have a
that you
motivation.
don't have motivation, but the woodcutter has a motivation for cutting the wood. Okay, but when he actually is cutting the wood, he's not thinking. He's like, he's
Minu
kind of
madam,
in a neutral state.
Minu madam, I think you're missing the wood for the trees. I'm sorry, I'm using a very similar
Got
this.
it?
But the point I'm making is that to do something and yet not be attached to it is a very critical part.
So, what
I
is the
am
motivation for doing then? See, if I see, I'll tell you something. A
one.
student is
Okay,
trying.
let me put it this way.
Ah,
You are cooking in your house.
okay.
The need to cook is because of the dharma that you are in. You are in the house. You're the lady of the house. It's your dharma. You're the best cook in the house. So you're cooking.
So, what if I'm just hungry person and I'm cooking food for me because I'm hungry? That's it. Simplified. So, that
Correct.
hunger is the
One minute.
motivation for me in my action of
Correct.
doing the cooking.
Perfect. But the point is that you don't need to be attached to the outcome. This is good food. This is not so good food. This, that, and all that. I am giving the lecture, but I am not attached to the outcome as to whether I will do my best to put my point across in the and try to make people understand. But I don't hope or want or I cannot because there is no control. What you understand, how you understand, that is why we spend so much discussion time because I am all the time continuously going into a feedback loop. Why? Because only then does the Shraddha completely happen. Similarly, in your case, when you cook, if you are attached to the outcome, how will you be attached to the outcome? You will be looking at everybody's face when they are eating. Then you will know this is what they wanted, this is what they did not like, whatever it is. But if you are attached to that outcome, then you've created karma.
So basically, you're saying, I am hungry, therefore, that is my motivation to cook. Okay, so
Correct,
I cooked.
correct.
When I cook the food, I am not bothered whether the food is good or not. I should be, then only I am in that state of inactive amygdala. And if I am hungry, therefore, I better have a proper meal that I can actually eat. So, if I'm
That
interested
is
in the
Shraddha. Correct. Shraddha. The
no,
Shraddha of cooking ensures the meal is good. But not liking or disliking. For example,
no, but if I didn't
when
cook well, I'm saying if I made a horrible, inedible meal, like imagine I just don't know how to cook. Okay, but I'm very hungry and I'm trying to cook somehow. I'm like one of those who come to the city to, work and they want to somehow fix up a meal.
it's okay, huh? Move,
So,
move, move. There are other people in the queue.
okay. So I'm just saying that
Hmm.
when one is doing that action,
Hmm.
he had a motivation to do that action. So that motivation, which is hunger, to fulfill that motivation, this person cannot be just detached. Whether the food is good or not doesn't matter. It matters because I am hungry and that is my motivation. So these are all connected, no?
No. That's what he says. No. You must perform action for it is superior to inaction. For even maintenance of your body would not be possible by inaction. So the point is that there are certain things which are mandatory. As the person is alive, the need to eat is action. Need to breathe is action. Breathing itself is an action. Okay. But to be attached to that breath, to be attached to that food, And that is precisely what happens when you go from Annamaya Kosha to Pranamaya Kosha to Manomaya Kosha to Vijnanamaya Kosha. The thing is the attachment to that, whatever you are doing, is where the problem comes. The issue is not about doing itself. The issue is how much are you attached to that outcome, to that which you are doing. Am I
So
getting across?
what will drive me to actually do the action if I have no motivation, no attachment, no nothing? Okay, simply I'm
Okay,
doing.
let me give you another example. When the sannyasis take sannyasa,
Hmm.
they become bhikshus.
Yes.
You know what a bhikshu is? A bhikshu, it depends on various stages of bhikshu. Like for instance, when after Upanayana Samskara, the child will say, Bhavati Bhiksham Dehi. That
Hmm.
is, the child is supposed to go take whatever is given to it,
Hmm.
the child, go to the Patashala and share it with everybody else. Why does that happen? The first thing is when the child goes to say Bhavati Bhiksham Dehi, one of two things will happen. Either the child will get something or it won't get something. So the child gets used to rejection, number one. Second thing, when the child gets something, the child feels great. I got something. I got Bhiksha. There is ahankara. When the child comes back to the Patashala, the guru says, okay, give it in the kitchen. Mother will make it. It is shared by everybody. What happens? I am the doer is nullified. The child has to eat whatever is put on the plate in front of it. That is Bhiksha. You cannot say, no, I don't like, I like. So, what is being trained to the child? To keep the Purusha in a neutral state. Am I getting across?
Yes, sir. Yes, I got.
So, that is, now this is what I'm trying to say. Okay, Lakshmi madam.
Sorry for
Yes, sir.
taking up time, sir.
No, 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 no. You have to. This is what. This is also. I'm also evolving along with you all. No, Lakshmi madam.
Yes, sir. Actually, this point which Meenu ma'am and you were discussing, I have also contemplated on this many a time. I'll try to share my take on it in the shortest way possible, sir. Now, my feeling is all this stems from the need to be acknowledged. The Purusha or the
Correct.
identity wants to be liked, wants to be agreeable. And that's the reason why that's becoming a biggest obstacle.
Correct.
So what I found the solution, with my day-to-day life, I try to practice this. Now, like Meenu ma'am said, even I kind of am in her favor of her line of thought that we cannot function without having a slight raga. For instance, even Lord Krishna has demonstrated, I think, in Bhagavad Gita, his
Yes.
liking for Pandavas.
Yes.
However, the difference is in
Mm.
being accepting, sir. I think acceptance solves this problem. According to me, I may be wrong, but I'm just using this word. Acceptance
You'll
of
have to. What do you mean by acceptance? What do you mean by acceptance?
acceptance of ourselves and others is what brings about that neutrality, according to me, sir. What I mean to say is, let's say I have a certain like and dislike. It may be a value system. For example, I believe one should not lie. Okay, that's a value system. That is
Correct.
because of my guna. It is my guna, samskara. Now, Bhagavad Gita, Lord says you have to go by what you are as a person. It is
Mm.
better to be that than somebody else, isn't it? So
Correct.
let's,
Correct.
with this simple example of I don't like to lie, when I'm dealing with, let's say, a family member who lies a lot, for example,
Mm. Mm.
where is this raga dvesha coming? When I'm telling that person don't lie and that the other person still continues to lie, then now in this stage, I cannot think, I should also be neutral, let them lie, let them not lie. Then we become a jadam, for want of a better word, I'm using a Tamil word. We become a jada, a completely dry person. Here,
No, no, no.
the
Jadam,
solution I
jadam,
found
jadam
was,
does not mean that. Jadam does not mean that.
uh,
Jadam means insentient. Someone whose senses are not functioning.
acha, okay,
That,
it's
that is
almost
not
like
the
that.
correct.
Okay, So jadam is the wrong word. No, but what I'm trying to say is to become completely somebody who is not having any sense of value system or like or dislike, I feel does not help us function. So it's important to have a certain system. And the difference is accepting if the other person, despite our trying to put our word across or point across, if the other person still does not want to accept it, take hai, leave it. That leaving it part, that is the trick. That is the solution, sir. Okay, he didn't listen to me. After this, I'll move on. The problem is we are carrying it in our heart. Dvesha is coming. If they agree to us, raga is coming. Oh, he agreed to me. I'm so happy. I'm such a lucky mother. That, or for example, if it's a child who is lying, oh, the child does not agree. Oh my God, why this child didn't agree? Dvesha. So to cut down all this, acceptance. I am looking at that way, sir. So it is. I feel it's very important to have a certain sense of like dislike also, but to handle it with that word which you told, no, neutrality. Where if it doesn't outcome, we don't
Question
worry.
I'm asking.
Huh,
The question I'm asking you,
uh-huh,
Lakshmi Madam, is
huh.
how is different? How is it different from what we've spoken about today, right now? Because
Different.
there is
I
there is a problem in what you're saying.
huh,
You see, when you are saying
hmm.
that, on the one hand, correct me if I'm interpreting you incorrectly.
Okay, sir.
On the one hand, you're saying
Hmm,
that you can advise somebody,
hmm.
but the thing is that you always need to have that spark which is motivating you, and
Yes.
you're always trying to um, be at somebody's good books all the time because that's what you want.
No, no, no,
Let me
no, sir.
ask you
No, no, sir.
the first part that you were saying
What
that
I meant there was that is the obstacle. See, we are trying to be liked. The Purusha is trying to be agreeable and liked. That element we have to leave. That we
no, the
leave
point
only with
is
acceptance.
correct.
Huh.
The problem is not that. The problem is acceptance of what? The
Accept
acceptance of what we are, right?
of ourselves and others, both.
So if you do that at the end of the day, if you are accepting the other person and yourself,
Hmm.
your need for the other person does not exist. No.
No, no, sir. It's still even that example which you gave, sir. If I may borrow that, you like how you are taking a class. You said. Now you are taking a class, and it doesn't. See, you are taking it with a certain interest and passion. If not, this class will not be this effective. While taking
No,
this class,
to be honest with you, this is who I am. The thing
correct.
is that if I take up an activity, I'll do it with Shraddha.
Yes, that's
In the
your guna,
olden
sir.
days,
Huh.
it's my swabhava.
It is your
The
swabhava.
the problem is that when I was working, I needed the job, so there was anxiety.
Hmm.
Today, that anxiety is not there. Why?
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, if you follow and if you evolve, then what happens is that me having put in that effort, I'm
Yes.
able to see an outcome. But
Yes.
am I attached to that outcome? I'm not. Why? Because I know I have no control over it.
That is the
Unlike,
acceptance he is talking about, sir.
you can call it acceptance or whatever, but the fact is
Hmm.
that
Yes.
me doing the action without Shraddha
Yes.
would mean that nobody will come to the class.
See,
Correct? The class will never sustain itself only on goodwill. There has to be quality. If there is no quality of outcome, nobody else will come. You see some value there. That is why you
isn't
come.
that a raga, sir? I'm just asking. Now, see, you are wanting the class to have a certain quality. That's a raga. It's a good raga.
No,
Positive
no,
raga.
no, no, no. I don't. To be honest with you, I don't care.
Uh,
The fact is that I I have a, I have come to a point where I feel that I can share something. The
yes, sir.
problem is this subject, I also recognize, is a subject which is very difficult to find acceptance. Now, everybody wants perfection. But at the end of the day, can I make you perfect? No, not possible.
Not
Why?
possible.
Because it is your effort that will make you perfect.
Yes.
So there is always at this dichotomy that I'm not accepting what you are doing. I'm continuously poking you. Practice, 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 practice. But do I control your practice? No. Am I attached to your practice? No. But am I stopping my class? No. Am I stopping what I'm saying? No. If you will see the classes over the past many months, you will realize there is almost no change in the main message. Everything is the Brahman. From Brahman comes Purusha, Prakriti, Guna, Karma, outcome. So you need to regress backwards. It is silence and pranamaya kosha. I mean annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, mano. It is a simple outward flowing consciousness, reverse flowing consciousness that I've been talking about. Nothing new. Everything is the same. But have I stopped? I should be getting bored also saying it, no? Are you getting bored? No. Why? Because you see some value in it. So the point is
Sir,
that for us, please.
no, would it be safe to say
Mm,
raga dvesha of every
mm,
person which is
mm,
occurring in your as a prakriti
mm.
is also a part of Brahman. Therefore,
Yes, it has come
taking
out of
that
Brahman, no?
example of Meenu ma'am, where she said if a lady is cooking, she is cooking with the intention of cooking well. She wants to cook a very delicious meal. That may be a
Correct.
raga. Now, that raga
No,
propels
no,
her to
no,
do
no,
that
no. That
activity
is
with
Shraddha.
quality,
You are
with
mixing up. You are mixing
quality.
up Shraddha
However,
with.
what your point is, suppose despite no, no, sir. What I want to ask is, despite her best efforts, if the cooking didn't turn out, outcome was not as good, she still is neutral about it because she knows she has put in a certain effort
Correct.
with
This is
sincerity.
what.
So,
Correct.
would it be right to say that both raga and dvesha, likes, dislikes, are occurring in the Brahman itself, and our ability to accept is the jnana? Our ability to accept the
Don't.
outcome with
Bra- Brahman,
with
don't bring Brahman
equanimity.
into this. This is all Maya. Everything is Maya. We are all in the world of Maya. We are struggling with Maya. Maya is
Okay.
the edifice that is built on the base of the Brahman. Brahman is all of this which is like Bhasma, neutral. So if you bring Paramartha
Okay.
Satya into Samriti Satya, you are going to mess it up. Don't do that. Now the question is,
Okay, sir.
how do you transcend Samriti Satya? Samriti Satya is possible through, first of all, is Jnana, which is to say that what is temporary, what is permanent. And you struggle to try and get out of the temporary part and then go back, you regress and you try to get to Brahman. The other part is through, now what we are talking about is chapter 3, where we are talking about karma. The question really is, now let me try and split this up because that is the way I think the discussion is going. What motivates a person to act? The motivation of a person to act is not the action itself. The motivation to act is the reality of a person's situation. You are in a particular situation, you have to act. The issue is how you act. Are you acting with attachment? Are you acting with detachment? If you act with attachment, there is passion. There is a lot of positive and negative passion. If you act with detachment, it can very easily be misunderstood as that example of the woodcutter, just going and mechanically chopping wood. At the same time, if the person's awareness, every time the person brings the axe down, is with complete focus, that is a different kind of action. Because there is no tamas, there is awareness. So the subtlety is very, very small, but the outcome is very different. Am I making sense?
So, sir, one small question in between. You said
Hmm.
Shraddha. What does Shraddha mean? Earnestness?
It is a mixture of earnestness, dedication, sincerity, patience, perseverance. All of this in one package is Shraddha.
Okay, sir. Thank you. I didn't understand the exact meaning of Shraddha because many people use Shraddha as a substitute for faith.
Hmm.
Some people say you have to have Shraddha that the work will be done. So I always mixed up about this Shraddha thing. So
Shraddha is current.
thank you.
You're listening to me with Shraddha is the one that matters. You questioning me with Shraddha is what matters. You can question me without having like and dislike. Correct or not?
Yes.
That is Shraddha. When you work, when you function with Shraddha, the outcome is very
Hmm.
different. When you like or dislike, when you are pulling and pushing and this and that, what happens? There is passion. You are creating karma. However,
But
when
sir,
you
everybody
work,
says passion is so positive and oh, he's passionate about doing this thing. You have to put
that
some passion in this work. So they all make passion sound like a very positive thing to have.
that is the Abrahamic way of doing things. That's the unfortunate part. We have been that is the
Oh,
contamination
okay,
that has
okay,
come into our system. That is the unfortunate part. Yeah, that
okay,
is there, but then
okay.
it is the way the West thinks work should be done. But actually,
So our system
work
does not encourage passion and all that, huh?
it creates karma. Passion creates
Okay,
karma. So
okay.
your raga or dvesha, both are passion. They will create karma. You are, if you want to be, you have to be like a lotus in water, like a duck in water. You're there, but you're not driven by it. It is not affecting you. There is no ahamkara. I am the doer. What? Anand sir,
So
Meenu
sir,
madam, you already.
karmani eva adhikarastu
No, no,
ma
no. That is
phaleshu
not
kadachana. That one?
now. You're going further. Now you're going ahead of the chapter. So we'll
No,
come
I'm
to
not.
that later
No,
on.
sir. How can I ever go ahead? I am the laggard in the class. No, no,
No,
I'm
no,
not
no, no,
trying
no.
to go ahead.
Okay,
I am
let's
simply
let's talk
saying,
to Anand
is
sir.
that what is this? What you have been
Ultimately,
saying all along?
ultimately,
Is that what
ultimately, yes.
it is?
Ultimately, it gets to that point. Yes.
Okay,
But
sir.
there are some nuances there also. So we'll discuss that little later. Anand sir, you were
Okay,
asking
sir.
a question, sir. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. No, just a question. We talked about passion, we talked about Shraddha and all that.
Hmm.
Now, all these, one lingering doubt, all these are okay now. I don't know, most of us are a little elderly today, so it all works fine. I'm just giving a classic example of my son, for example. He he did his, I'm taking a couple of minutes. He did his master's in engineering and stuff like that and all that. But he was always interested in music. So he learned Mridangam and he mastered it. And today, entire career is revolving around music. Forget about the engineering. He's just driven by his passion. Now, I know he's only 35. So uh, life is to go on at 35, 40, 45. When do you So how do you define that? At certain age, like you
Ah,
also said, you had your anxiety when you were working. Okay, I am 73, but still I have a company running somewhere. So how do you? So that's a little bit of conflict here when you try to do something
yes,
without any
yes,
uh, this
absolutely,
thing, and then you
absolutely.
have to trade off. You have to do a trade off. You want to do this, but you have to be there too. So kind of.
No. The thing is, you're absolutely correct. So when my responsibilities were higher, I had a housing loan, I had children who were going to school, tuition fees, all of that, and I had to also take them to small holidays. The load was high. As the children grew up and my responsibilities began to go down, The anxiety
Sorry,
of
sir, your
have,
voice clipped totally. I don't know whether there was something. I don't know. Your
I'll
voice
explain it.
clipped a lot. Yeah.
Okay. What, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So the question
Yeah.
is, see, the thing is
Yeah.
that when we are young and we have lots of responsibilities, what happens? It is natural that, and we are immature because we do not realize that that particular activity that we are creating is actually going to happen whether we push it or not. So what happens is that we get involved in it and we try to get an outcome out of it. And as we age, like for instance, when my children were studying, I had the anxiety of school fees, this, that, and all that, housing loans, car loans. Then slowly all of that abated. Then the pool of reserves increased and the anxiety completely disappeared. The question then becomes, I am growing. Whether I like it or not, I'm growing in the organization, I'm growing in society, etc. The question then is, am I the doer? And at some point, you begin to realize that not in control, it is happening. The faster you realize that it is happening and you are not the controller, you don't need to push for an outcome, but you need to flow with the outcome. That is the maturity which comes later on. The problem initially is that you're in tamas. You've got high forces of tamas and rajas. I need to go ahead in life. I need to make this. I need to get a promotion this year. I need to make so much money, etc., etc., etc. Because there is the personal drive. Number one. Number two is the need to evolve or grow. But at some point, when that satiation happens, if it happens, not does not happen to everybody, if it happens, then there is an evolution in the individual from a driver to the ability to accept that this control that we think we exert is really very, very feeble. So, that is the sign of maturity that we need to seek. That maturity is is that which we seek, where if I'm in control of something, I exercise the control in a very neutral manner. If I'm not in control, like Minu madam was saying, or Lakshmi madam was saying, I cook something. I go and give it to the person. I watch the person eat. If the person is happy or unhappy, it doesn't bother me too much. I know that the person is happy. Similarly, if you were going to get stuck with your son's uh, life events, then what happens is that you're still getting stuck into the personal relationships, the attachments, the raga, the dvesha, all of that begin to impact you. Karma cannot function. You're creating karma, you're not creating karma yoga. That is, you are not getting to a state where the purusha is slowly separating itself from the prakriti. That filter, the barrier is not there. It is continuously a weave, a dance which is happening between Purusha and Prakriti, and you're continuously engaged in that outcome. You like and you dislike. You think it's right, you think it's wrong. All that creates Raga, Tvesha, and you're creating karma. That's very simple. Am I making sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay.
was only saying that it becomes a kind of you can only age and then only you can start looking at these things. Kind of in our philosophy. I
Some
don't know whether it
maturity
is a
is.
right definition. I know Adi Shankara and all might have done it 32, but not you and me. So that is what
No,
I.
no, no,
That's
no.
why I gave the example of yeah.
No, it's not like that. Let's be honest, sir. You see, let's any outcome that you have, we have a subject and an object, and the subject and the object, for them to get into a relationship, first there has to be energy. This is called lasya. Lasya, lasya means dance. So the two people dance. For example, you and I, the class and I, we dance initially. There is a lot of understanding, misunderstanding. There's a lot of energy that moves backwards and forwards. There's a lot of like and dislike. At one point, we begin to start understanding each other. There is a resonance. This resonance, then when we get, is called laya. Lasya is the Sanskrit cognate of the English word lust, where there is a lot of energy, passion, this, that, everything. Karma is created. When that lasya slowly begins to get into the form of resonance, you call it laya. Laya is the Sanskrit cognate of the English word love. So what happens is that when you are in a resonance with any object, there can be two forms of resonance. One is the resonance of passion, which is lasya, and the other one is a resonance where there is no identity. When you merge with your vigraha, with your ishtadeva, there is no resonance. It is a resonance that is without any individuality. That is laya, and that is precisely what we are talking about right now. Whether you're cutting a vegetable, whether you're going by bus, whether you're talking to somebody, whether you're conducting a class, if you can achieve that point where there is no personality involved in the activity, then what happens is that there is no creation of karma.
Agree, fully agree. But I was only referring again, the point is, this comes only at some age, I'm saying. Because at the,
It depends. It depends on who. I have worked with youngsters.
I don't know whether you have seen anybody like that in
I
life
have.
who is at 30, 35, you know,
I have seen.
they
I
just,
have seen. I have
that will be
seen
great.
just. I've just seen. I've seen just 2-3 weeks ago a young girl. She's about 30 years old. Very placid. She's got a little boy. She's very calm and contained within herself. I was quite surprised. Actually, I wasn't expecting it. It's just. It's swabhav. The person may be passionate about other things, but the way the person carried herself was amazing. I found an enormous amount of maturity in the way the person was able to deal with situations. Even when the child was the child is a child, but the way the person was able to deal with various situations was very different. So it's not that you can see it in people actually.
Say it could be due to Purva Samskara also.
Absolutely. It's all prarabdha
Isn't
karma.
it?
Yeah, prarabdha
Yes.
karma. No doubt
See,
about it.
someone who has been like a saintly person in the previous life and lifetimes before that also several, then in this lifetime they will naturally tend to be calm and peaceful, observing things, being silent, and all those things which make a good sadhaka,
Correct.
if you want to use the word, right? So,
Correct.
and there are some who are all the time in a turmoil, and we don't know why they are like this and this one is like this. So it could be that,
Either is
yeah.
swabhav also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Swabhav,
In our
prarabdha
school, when
karma.
we are in the class, no, we have seen in class also. Many children will be all the time up to mischief. Some children will be very, we can see the difference there itself. And it is
Yeah.
not conscious. So only I tend to feel that it must come from Purva karmas and Purva
Prarabdha
prarabdha.
karma.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
So if there is any final questions, we will handle the questions. Otherwise, we close down. We've already run half an hour over time. Are there any further inputs? Okay. So I'm going to close the class. Thank you very much.